Welcome to Make Your Money Matter. I'm your host, Brad Barrett. I'm also a managing director and partner here at One Capital Management. Hey, many of you heard me say this comment before. It's not always what you own, but how you own it. So today I want to expand on that on the show. And I want to talk about the right investments in the wrong account and really what to look for and what not to do. Because again, friends, we want to make sure if we're doing these investments, we want to put them in the right place. Again, not always what you own, but how you own it. But before we get started, make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. All right, let's get into it. Now, for many of us, there are various types of investments that have various types of tax advantages that we know about. As do, by the way, various types of investment accounts that go along with those. And so incorrectly mixing the two can actually reduce your returns and really actually cost you money. Now, a quick example that I'll bring up here in a second, just to start, is municipal bonds. Let's just talk about that for a second, okay? Many of you have heard of these before. The income they generate is actually not taxed at most levels. So it makes really no sense to keep them, say, in a tax-deferred retirement account like an IRA or a 401k because you're not paying taxes to begin with in those accounts, so there's no benefit from a tax deferral. Makes sense? So municipal bonds are actually best suited for traditional taxable accounts or brokerage accounts, as an example. So I want to go through a variety of things like that here on the show today, and really not just accounts, but investments that you may have or likely have, and you should check on this and make sure that they're in the right accounts. Because as a financial advisor, this is what we do for our clients, right? Making sure that's not always talking about the specific investment, or again, always what you own, but then again, how you own it. Now, I've seen countless mistakes been made in this when having the right investment in the wrong account. So let's go through from the top. First one up here, and again, this is not in any priority, corporate bonds. Now, I'm saying this because we just spoke about municipal bonds as my first example, but corporate bonds, the income is taxable at generally higher ordinary income tax rates. So owning a corporate bond in a tax-deferred account like an IRA or a 401k makes more sense a lot of times than owning it in a taxable account. Now, I should say this, with all of this, it should really be talking with your CPA or your taxes because these are tax advantage conversations. So make sure to speak with your preparer. It's really important because there is something in this conversation I'm bringing up between municipal bonds and corporate bonds, what's called tax equivalent yield. So depending on your income, it may still make sense compared to municipal bonds to own it in a taxable account, but that's for a larger strategy there. But for the most part, corporate bonds in a tax-deferred account makes sense. All right, let's talk about stocks just in general. Let's break it down, right? Growth stocks or small cap, mid cap stocks, more growthy, okay? The long-term capital gains tend to be lower than most ordinary income taxes. So if you expect your ordinary income rate will be low in retirement, maybe you should let profits from these fast growers potentially accumulate in a tax-deferred account versus in a taxable account where every year if you trade in it, you'll be paying taxes. Okay, let's go on the same side of stocks, but to the yield side for a second. So instead of growth stocks, yield stocks, paying stocks, dividends, right? So dividend taxes are again a little bit lower than the ordinary income tax rates you pay, but withdrawing the money from a tax-deferred account later makes some sense. So maybe owning them in a taxable account may make more sense there. Now, I spoke about municipal bonds earlier. I'm going to bring it up again here. Owning that in a taxable account versus a tax-deferred account makes more sense because, again, the income is free from typically local, state, and federal taxes for the most part. Again, check your CPA to make sure that this fits you. Now, staying with stocks for a second, preferred stocks. This one, I'm going to divide between a taxable account and a tax-deferred account so I can see them in both. And here's why. Some preferred dividends are actually interest. So those that pay true dividends, I think, should go into a taxable account. And then those that pay interest should be in a tax-deferred account. So again, it's important to know the difference in terms of if you like the stock, if it's a deferred stock holding, make sure you're owning it in the right account. Now, I want to switch over from stocks and bonds for a second, talk about real estate, okay? Specifically, real estate investment trusts. We know them as REITs, R-E-I-T-S's, right? They generally avoid corporate taxes by passing that burden to shareholders. So their dividends generally don't qualify for the lower rate. So you want to let them grow typically tax deferred. You may want to own them more in an IRA or a 401k versus a taxable account. If it's grower, you may want to own it in a Roth, right? Then we want to talk switching from real estate over to treasury bonds. Now, like municipal bonds, a little bit different, but treasury bonds, they're free from local and state taxes. So owning them in a taxable account may make more sense. So I'm bringing up these because in a conversation with some clients recently, we've had this discussion. I thought it'd be great to share with our viewers. And so I want to bring this up. And the last thing I want to say, because I had a couple comments on this recently here, in fact, is a product and where to own those, like an annuity, for example. Okay, annuities in general, right, are tax deferred to begin with. Okay, so you can make the case that owning them in a taxable account may make sense because you're not going to be paying taxes on the growth over time. That being said, the tax side of annuities, any kind of insurance contract like that, for the most part, doesn't fall into long-term capital gains either. So it's always, no matter how long you've owned it, ordinary income tax. So that being said, it holds the same traits as a tax deferred account, or IRA or 401k. So for me as an advisor, I can see it either way, depending on your situation, whether for the annuity, if you're gonna own that, if that works for you, you're gonna going for growth or for income. This is where, by the way, an advisor will come in to help you with that, along with your CPA. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that show today. If you did, make sure to give us a like, subscribe, so you don't miss a single episode, and always remember to make your money matter.